Morning everyone, we had to cancel the opening sequence. We had an unexpected turn of events. Karula is still up in the tree feeding on an impala kill. She's just dropped a portion of that kill. There you can see her. So she's finishing that off, but more importantly she's dropped this piece down onto the ground that the one hyena is feeding on. And as you can see in the background, just to the right of the tree, there's another hyena that's just coming onto the scene. And what we could see is some great interaction between these hyena, fighting over this little piece of impala. I cannot believe that the hyena off in the distance has not come and chased this individual, because it's far bigger than the hyena that's got the meat at the moment. It's looking excited, it doesn't know what to do, but here it comes. It can't resist coming in for a closer look, and we could get some intense and wonderful audio from these hyena. What a great start to this live safari, everyone. I really didn't expect the leopard to still be here. I thought this kill would have been finished off. Listen to the bones crunching as this hyena uses its incredibly powerful jaws. Incredible, just crushing through those bones. Something that the leopard would in all likelihood have not been able to do. So this hyena is essentially just making sure that nothing goes to waste. They're incredibly important animals in our African ecosystems. It's hanging around patiently, knowing that there's a strong chance some parts would drop, and also knowing that there's a lot of portions of the impala that the leopard is unable to feed on, like this leg bone. Watch this. Now we're going to keep watching this hyena, but just to keep you updated about what's going on around us, the leopard is still enjoying her breakfast up in the tree. The other hyena, and I'm so surprised by this, it's considerably larger than the hyena closer to us. Oh, here comes another one. That's what we want. The more hyenas that come in, the more likely it is that we're going to get some fighting between them. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Look at this. Can you believe this? BM's doing an incredible job on camera. I think it may have dropped a piece there. And I'm thinking of repositioning, but I'm just going to stay here for a moment, because it's easiest for VM to film when we are dead still. So even though they're a bit further away, at least you're getting great images of them. Absolutely awesome, and I'm so happy that Peter Brata, one of our tech wizards and directors of the company, is on his way into work this morning, and he's going to get to see the hyena that's running past it. What I'm thinking of doing is, oh, look at all the blood on this one's face. This is the one that lost its kill. And I think what I may well do is try and race off and get another look at this other hyena. Actually, hold on, BM, you can get it from here. Running off into the sunset, sunrise rather. Much more meat off there. But we've been incredibly fortunate in that she has been in the same area for such a long period of time, and the whole year that I've been here at Djuma, I've never seen her on a kill for this long, and that's for a number of reasons. We haven't seen her making big, smaller kills that we've seen. that are a lot easier for her to finish off in a short space of time. Also, or at least when I arrived here in November last year, she had two young males who are her cubs, who were mature, reaching maturity, and they were stealing a lot of her kills. And if she did kill something big like an impala, they would often find it and help her finish it off. Now she doesn't have that problem. This is the spinal cord I was talking about. This is also in all likelihood going to drop down to the ground shortly, and there will be some animals waiting. Two hyena have just come back onto the scene. I'm guessing they're the same two hyena from earlier on. The one in the front certainly looks like it, and the one in the back. And it was a wonderful display of hyena hierarchy as that other hyena came charging in with no concern at all. Now what would have happened is that other hyena in this area would have heard that commotion, and we may even find that more hyena will start approaching. So I'm just beginning to scan 360 degrees around us just to make sure we're not missing out on anything. It's a crisp, cool morning here, 17 degrees Celsius, about 66 degrees Fahrenheit. Not a breath of wind, and you got a glimpse of that magnificent sunrise earlier. There don't seem to be too many clouds in the sky, so we're in for a good day out on safari. I've just touched on a little bit of the hyena hierarchy, and that it's complex, but definite hierarchy exists within clans of hyena. And Mischan in Texas has very wisely pointed out that the smaller hyena that we saw initially, that was feeding on the scraps of the impala, must be more dominant than the other individual that was bigger than it, but kind of standing off in the distance, not wanting to even think about stealing any of the kill. And even though it's a lot bigger than the individual that was feeding, the hierarchy obviously protected that smaller individual, which may have had kind of royal genes, you could say, may have been born into alpha status simply by having the right parents. I guess not hugely dissimilar to us as humans, various royal families around the world. And this hyena coming back in is the one that we think is part of the Djuma hyena royal family. That's why it managed to command a little bit of respect, but the other individual that came running through certainly must have been higher ranking, or at least more powerful and bold. Very difficult for us to know exactly what goes on in their lives. There we can see a good size comparison. I mean, the one on the right is considerably larger and also looks to be older than the one on the left. I don't know what you guys think. Let's compare their head sizes. Now don't be fooled by the appendage between the back legs of the smaller hyena. It could still be a female. They've got incredibly similar looking appendages. The female's greatly enlarged clitoris takes on the resemblance of a penis, and this is what makes these animals incredibly difficult for us to understand completely. Oh, another little scrap. Phenomenal that this other hyena, even while this individual was further away, the hyena in the background now didn't come too close. It didn't look around for any scraps. So hard to know exactly, like I say, what's going on and why. But wonderful behavior nonetheless. Look at her lips. She's got a serious grimace going on there. looking up at Karula in the tree there. You saw its kind of forehead crinkled up there as it was bending its head up to possibly try and beg Karula to drop some more meat down for them. It will happen, so we're not going to go anywhere. There's that portion of the spine and the skull that is bound to come down very shortly. Karula's now doing her best to actually lick the meat off the bone, and lions and leopards will do that. They've got a rough tongue that kind of resembles sandpaper, I guess, and it helps to lick off flesh so as to not waste anything. As we take a closer look now, you'll see her doing quite a lot of licking, more licking than chewing. Something's about to drop. Hello, Tammy in Washington. And Tammy seems to think that the hyena ran off with the fetus of the impala. Not a bad guess. It did certainly resemble the fetus of the unborn lamb, but I did actually see Karula finishing that off, not last night, but the night before. And what I'll try and do is, I'm actually not entirely sure if it's completely finished, and there was one little leg of that impala lamb up in an apple leaf tree. We had a remarkable sighting, Tammy, of her up in an apple leaf tree. She had been chased up. Oh, here it goes. Crazy stuff. The hyena was certainly a lot more bold this time around. That's the skull. You can see the jawbone at the bottom there sticking out. So now all that remains, I think, is a little piece of the spine. Unless that's in the mouth of the hyena. I think that could be in the mouth of the hyena, unless it missed a portion of the carcass. It may still be at the base of the tree. Just going to chat with Peter quickly. He's just headed out on drive. Not to worry, Brent's giving the update to him. Oh, running off in the same direction as the previous hyena. There's the beautiful sunrise again, and Karula is now grooming herself. I'm not too sure what to do, whether to follow the hyena or stay with the leopard. I think we're going to stay with the leopard, and we've got good news. I'm going to ask VM just to quickly pan across. I think we're going to have a beautiful shot of the hyena ahead of us, even though it's a bit of a way off with that rising sun in the background and the hyena feeding. I think we're going to get some great light on that shot. I'm just going to call Peter into the sighting. Ah, there goes the bushwalk team. Sadly, they're having trouble with their backpack that transmits the signal. So I think they're going to be trying to get that sorted out. Sure. Well, it really is wonderful when we get to share such wonderful experiences with our viewers, and this is what safari is all about, everyone. Magical memories. It's not always like this. If it's the first time you are joining, we are setting the bar very high for you, because this level of interaction between prime carnivores, hyenas. Oh, looks like the leopard's moving around here. She could be thinking of coming down the tree. Yeah, there she comes. Now, which way is she going to jump? It's always hard to tell. Up the other side. Okay, I'm just going to move quickly. VMC going up and down this tree a number of times, whereas I haven't. And it seems like this is going to be the better side to be on. Here comes Peter as well, so you might share his vehicle. Look at this. I mean, just the fact that we're getting to look at this leopard while she is up in a tree like this, with a strong chance of her probably jumping down for us, is something that many people may go a whole life of being on safari and never see such awesome stuff. Here she goes. Okay, be ready to take screenshots, everyone. It's going to be very quick as she jumps out. I'm readying myself. There she goes. Wow. Again, I can't believe our fortune. She's just behind our vehicle. She's probably going to pop out around to the left of VM now. And it's going to be very interesting to see where she heads from here. Interestingly, it looks like she could be heading towards the apple leaf tree, where there's a tiny portion of the baby impala remaining. It'll be wonderful to see her go up that tree. To Mauricia in Texas, and Mauricia is now interested to know, now that she's been feeding on this impala since Sunday night, a long time and a lot of meat to gorge herself on, when will she go off hunting and find her next meal? It could happen within the next half an hour or hour, Mauricia. It all depends on luck, really. I'm just going to loop ahead of her now. Because if an opportunity presents itself to her, she's going to take it. She's not going to say, oh, I'm full now, I'm not that hungry. She's certainly going to do everything in her power to make another kill. And it's not uncommon for leopards to even have 2 kills simultaneously hoisted up into different trees, because like now she may be feeding on a kill for a period of 5 days, and during that 5-day period, through absolute luck and default, an unlucky prey animal may stumble upon her and give her an easy opportunity to catch another meal, and they will take those opportunities. So difficult to be certain, but what I will tell you is that she will easily, very easily be able to survive without a meal for 3 days, and possibly even longer, possibly even 5 or 6 days before she has her next meal. Obviously, the closer she gets to kind of the 3-day mark, the more likely it is that she will be inclined to go off hunting and look for another meal. But there are no guarantees out here what will happen. I think she might be going to, yeah, I think she's going to try and get a little scrap in this apple leaf tree. Get ready again to take screenshots. She's about to go up this tree. She's looking into it, and this is remarkable. The little apple leaf, or sorry, is in the fork of this tree is where the little impala's leg is, and I'm interested to see if she's not actually going to go up here, just for that tiny little morsel. I'm almost certain she is. She's headed straight here as she came down from the jackalberry tree, where she's just finished off feeding on the mother of this impala. Maybe not that much, maybe 5, maybe 6 meters up to that first fork in the tree, and that is where a tiny little portion, it's kind of the front quarters, I think, of the impala lamb, there you can have a slightly closer look at it. So she's got a little pantry here. I'm hugely surprised that you decided to actually hoist that impala lamb up into this specific tree, because, oh, is your belly too full to climb up now? Fair enough. Well, she was feeding on the impala carcass when we arrived about half an hour before you guys joined us on safari, so she's been stuck up in that tree for quite some time, doing a lot of feeding, and now it's time for her just to take a breather, do some grooming. She's in no rush. Her kills, that tiny little portion of the kill is safe up in the tree there. And I think she's just done all the calculations and worked out that she may as well enjoy this beautiful morning rather than getting too worked up like the hyena were. Always happy to know that other people are enjoying the sighting with us, and Peter and some of the other guests with them are there, as well as Jamie. So we are creating some great memories here, not only between us but between some other safari vehicles. Now, I mentioned that the bushwalk that you saw drive past, the hyena running off with the carcass, are having some technical difficulties, as well as Brent in the other vehicle. But that's not a problem, because it seems like we are in pole position here so far, so you'll just be stuck with me for the time being. But I think we could certainly be stuck in worse scenarios than this. Peter actually asked me last night if I thought Karula would still be here this morning, and I said no. I think the odds are that she would have finished the kill in the night and be gone. So I'm fortunate that my guess was entirely wrong. Oh, well, there's some great news that's already come through. James and the other vehicle are up and functioning, and he would like to say good morning to you. We'll be staying here with Karula, waiting for your return.
Good morning, everybody. A quick good morning from me, James, and Tebs on camera. We are heading along the Buffalo cut line looking for tracks of the Nkuhuma Pride, who were found just north of us yesterday evening. We were lucky enough to be there with Peter, and including Junior. And he looks to be in fine fettle, and he was looking for his mother. They weren't separated at the time, but I'm hoping we might see them here. Also, of course, gorgeous morning for finding baby impalas. Brent found the first one yesterday. So while I'm doing that, you continue the magnificent start to your morning that you've had with Scott and Karula, and I will hopefully see you later with some good news. Tally ho!
Beautiful scenes here in the quarantine clearings. There's a bit of a mist and haze in the air, creating for some quite moody scenes. Also very pretty cloud formations up in the sky. And as VM zooms in on this vehicle, a lot of you will see a familiar face, and somebody who has taken a lot of you on many safaris, Mr. Peter Pretorius. He's here enjoying not being behind the camera for now, and taking some great pics of Karula, a leopard that he has spent a lot of time with over his years here in the Sabi Sands, specifically at Djuma. Wonderful. She did just have another brief look up into the tree, so who knows what she's thinking. Judging by her belly and the state that she's panting, I don't think she's going to go up anytime soon. But who knows, maybe she'll prove us wrong. There she goes, looking up again. And while we wait for her to make up her mind, a question through from Siberia Zumi. And I would like to know if I think leopards have the ability of distinguishing between different individuals and getting to know us or various guides over the years that do spend a lot of time with them. It's a tricky question. I think that they certainly can distinguish between certain vehicles and quite possibly certain individuals, but I've never ever seen huge differences in behavior from one leopard to one human. Oh, I just heard a hyena cackle behind us. What I think I am actually going to do is just go back to the kill where, or the tree where Karula did have the kill. I did hear some hyena audio there. I can't see them, but it might be worth taking a closer look. She seems quite sleepy. And oh, sorry Siberia, back to your question. I do think it is possible, but like I said, I've never seen any remarkable interactions where any leopard will come up to any certain vehicle or be more relaxed than any specific vehicle. So the hyena have heard the commotion, and I think these could well be actually the same three that we've been seeing all along, that have now come back to just make sure there's no scraps lying around. Glorious morning sunshine on them. Look at these two. They seem very happy with one another. Ah, the sun shines wonderful. There's our fireside chat spot and our safari tent, which we're going to be using for the Big Cat Week, which will be airing on Nat.Geo Wild in America. So thanks very much for your observations, Georgianne and Elaine. You guys have noticed that the female in the middle there, kind of at the back of these two, her nipples seem to be very enlarged. And is she possibly pregnant? Well, she could well be. They do nurse their young for very long periods of time, so even a female that has given birth and may not be pregnant will still have large nipples. And looking at her, I think I recognize her. She's got a scar on her back, and I think that indicates to me that she is the mother of the youngest hyena cub at the den where we used to spend some time. My memory may be playing tricks on me, but I'm fairly certain the mother of the youngest cub had a very prominent scar on her back. Now I know a lot of you will be able to probably confirm that for me. Look at them, tails curled up, a sign of dominance. Those two definitely standing together, the youngster acting as submissively as possible. But those two adults are not taking any of its nonsense. Look at this. The two now curling up its tail, but not in an aggressive manner towards those adults. You can definitely see that it's acting almost sheepishly when it confronts them. Why don't you three call for us? Come on. Nothing better than hyenas singing early in the morning. Just going to reposition ever so slightly. Copy that, Peter. Thanks. Confirm she's heading southwest away from there. Okay, copy, thank you. Apologies everyone, I was just having a quick word with Peter. And it sounds like 4 more hyena arrived where she was. So a total of 7 hyena running around this area at the moment. So she's moved off. She didn't go up the tree, thankfully. That would have been terrible if we had have missed that. But she has started moving off. So let's go and stay with her and see where she goes next. I think these 3 hyena have now come back to the scene of the action, established that there's no more easy opportunities, and now they're heading back probably towards their den. We've got a feeling that they have moved back to a den site that we know they have used in the past, but there's no confirmation of that just yet. But we're hoping that in the coming few days we will be able to work out exactly where they are. Well, Carol's just pointed out a good point, and she said, can't we follow the hyena in order to get to their den? And yes, we certainly could, but that would mean leaving Karula. So it's not an easy decision for me to make, Carol. If there was 2 of me, I would definitely split up and one of me go with the hyena and the other one go with the leopard. I wonder where James is. I think James has been lurking around this general area. I've actually now just got confirmation from Tara, Carol, that James was at the hyena den a little bit earlier this morning, but due to a shaky signal there, we couldn't get you across. So it is actually confirmed James has found the hyena den, and therefore we won't need to actually follow them back. And after we've enjoyed a sighting in Karula, maybe I'll take you guys across there, because the signal in this vehicle should be good. So problem solved, and at least we've got a plan for once we've left Karula. Looks like she may have just laid down, and she's not going to be on the move, and she is going to be lying down and relaxing. I think it may be our best bet to race after those hyena and see what's going on there. Never easy to know what to do on safari, especially when there's so much action. To Tara in Ontario, Canada, and after all this hyena action, Tara's interested to know a little bit more about how long will hyena be willing to wait patiently around a tree where a leopard may have a kill hoisted or his kill hoisted, because it didn't seem like the payoff was that great. They didn't get a huge amount of carcass to feed on. And you're right, Tara, this time around they didn't get the most food I've ever seen hyena get lucky with, but sometimes leopard can drop an entire carcass out of a fork of a tree, or a large portion of it. And I've seen many different signs of behavior from hyena. Sometimes they will wait patiently without leaving the base of a kill for many hours, if not even days. And on other scenarios and other circumstances, hyena will come and go from kill sites, almost monitoring the kill to a point where they'll know when it starts making sense for them to invest more time there. On the initial parts of a kill, when it's unlikely the leopard is going to drop off any small bits of bone or skin, typically the hyena won't invest too much time. But other times they will, like I said, come and go Well, as we sit here waiting for her to make her next move, I've got some great news. Brent is out on bushwalk, so tighten your bootlaces and enjoy the adventure that he's got lined up for you.
Good morning and welcome on the Sunrise Walking Safari. So we've walked into this area between WildEarthTV access. So, and he called Steph because he'd seen a makuru nyoga, which means a big snake. So it is one of the snakes that doesn't move around too much because he has not moved at all. If we have a look here, it is one of the more venomous snakes we encounter. There we go. It is a puff adder, and those in North America will recognize the shape of the snake, and it does look a little bit like a rattler. The same family, rattlesnakes are adders. You can see that sort of almost diamond or triangular shaped head. Incredibly powerful. That whole snake is just muscles. This is a nice big one, and it's probably been feeding off all the frogs that were eating the flying ants last night. So nice and full. And their defensive mechanism firstly is their camouflage, and you can see it is wonderful camouflage that they have there. So they don't like to move too much, and even when you're walking through the bush, they generally try to warn you before you stand on them with a really loud hiss or a puff, where it gets its name from. A lot of people do get bitten by them in rural Africa by standing on them in long grass. They have cytotoxic venom, an incredibly long hypodermic needle-like teeth. Well, we're going to jump across to Scott quickly while Karula's mobile, and we'll be standing by here to tell you a little bit more about the snake.
Well done to Brent. And puff adders are such wonderful snakes that we seldomly see, and I'm incredibly jealous of you guys. We did want to get you back here just to say goodbye to Karula. She's heading into a very thick riverbed where she can now go and relax and start thinking about where she's going to get her next meal. And what we're going to do is we are now going to head over and use Carol's advice and try and catch up with those hyena before they get to the den sites. I know that James did confirm that den site that used to be active a couple of weeks ago was in fact active again this morning, and it's been many weeks since we saw those hyena. So look forward to getting there, but it'll be a few minutes and we're going to send you back to Brent and the puff adder. Enjoy, they are such pretty snakes.
Look at that incredible, you can see the individual scales and that reptilian eye. And there's definitely a reason why there's that common phrase, reptilian stillness. I mean, it is not moving. It obviously is very well aware we're here, but it is assuming that we don't know it's there, relying on its camouflage. Are we staying probably about a meter or so away from the snake? Not getting too close, we don't want to disturb it. There you can see how well it camouflages amongst the leaf litter. But as I was saying before we went to go have a last look at Karula before she disappeared into the drainage line, they have fangs that are basically like hypodermic needles. So the inside of the fang is hollow, and it has got incredibly strong muscles around its venom sac. So where the venom is produced from the venom glands, and basically it's able to control how much venom is injected. So venom is obviously quite an important thing for a venomous snake, and quite an important commodity, so they don't want to waste it. So they have these muscles that enables them to control how much venom they inject. So if they something small, they'll inject a little bit less. If they're defending against a big potential predator, they'll obviously try and inject as much as possible. And that's really fascinating. And all the front fangs, it's so very thick, and their teeth are grooved. So they actually really have to sort of chew on something to get that venom in there. whether it's with the front fang snakes, adders, cobras, mambas, they're able to inject and control the amount of venom they're injecting. And also those sharp hypodermic needle-like teeth make it a very, very effective system for depositing venom. So a puff adder like this, its favorite foods are frogs and mice, and maybe sometimes lizards and even other snakes. But it is a definitely one of the apex predators of the snake world, and not much likes to mess with them. Occasionally wild animals do get bitten by them as well. Like it's possible that that Matimba male lion who got bitten by a snake who had that wound, it could have been something like a puff adder. So cytotoxic venom, it's cell-destroying venom, so it causes necrosis around the bite site. And as I said, quite a few people are bitten every year in Africa by puff adders. And if you do get to hospital in time, it is a very treatable thing. But you never know, and a lot of the people who are bitten very far from clinics and hospitals. Maybe not dying, but losing limbs, fingers, things like that. And that cytotoxic venom works very, very quickly. But really nice that he hasn't moved. And so let's have one really nice last close look at the snake before we continue on and see what else we can find out. So Barbara's a little bit worried about me because I walk around in sandals and we have snakes like this out here. Well, fortunately, Barbara, most snakes are far more scared of us than we are of them. And as I said, a puff adder will hiss and try to warn you not to stand on him before you stand on him. And I can guarantee you, everyone, whether you're wearing sandals or boots, when that hiss comes out of the long grass, you watch human beings leap high into the air and in all directions. So we were just talking about how the snake injects venom through those hypodermic needle-like teeth. And another little quick fact before we go on to that about the puff adder: it is the fastest striking snake in the world. It is one of the slowest moving, but its actual strike is one of the fastest in the world. And Sacrosanct is saying she's heard that they never, or sometimes they don't inject any venom at all. And that is true. It's called a dry bite. And it's a warning bite. As I said, that venom's very precious to the snake and they don't want to waste it unless they really feel threatened in defense or for acquiring some food. So we're going to leave this lovely little puffy in its nice little nest here where it's not going to be disturbed too much by elephants and other animals under some logs. And we're going to go back to Scotty, who's got hyenas on the move.
We've managed to just catch up with the hyena again, and this does look like a female. I think I can see some nipples there, and she's heading in the general direction of where the den site is that James thinks is active. It's just up ahead on this road, so we're going to continue skirting along and seeing where this hyena goes. Quite thick and they move quite quickly, so it's going to be difficult to follow her off-road. But I think what we can do is probably just head off in the general direction of the den sites and maybe just actually get there, see what's going on, and take it from there. She's already moved off too far into this thick bush at too high of a speed for us to follow her. But she could zigzag back and make her way back to the den, so not far from here at all. I am so happy that you guys got to see that puff adder with Brent, and it sounds like a wonderful sighting. You got some great close-up views. Not a nice snake to be bitten by, as I'm sure Brent has let you know, but an incredible snake to look at, and very jealous but happy for you guys. Anyway, you are now going to be taken across to another section of Djuma, and that is with James, and he's waiting at a waterhole for you.
Well, everybody, it sounds like the most action-packed morning imaginable out there, and certainly it's been very peaceful here, and lots of birds and interesting things at Buffelshoek Dam. I'm so glad you got to see that snake as well. Now, those are not birds, of course, those are hippopotamus, but just behind them are two saddle-billed storks, which have been having a delightful breakfast of fish. They've been eating some fish, small fish. I'm just hesitating slightly. Tebs, if we swing to the left, on the bank of the river there are two pied kingfishers, just the bank of the dam wall there. Just zoom in, yeah, exactly there. Just punch in there and I'll direct you up a bit, now punch in straight there, left, there they are, middle of screen, punch in there, left a bit, left, there, down a bit, there they are. Now those two pied kingfishers, everybody, I think are probably looking for a nesting site, which is quite exciting. They will nest in mud holes if they can find them, and I'm sure that's what they're looking for over there. So they're quite nicely hidden there on the banks of this dam. Then we also have, and before we go out from there, let me try and find them first. Well, there's some woolly-necked storks on the top of the dam wall, and they're also enjoying the superior fishing conditions presented by this drying out dam. And there are quite a few of them, and then you'll be pleased to know, everybody, that our fairly suspect parents in the goslings, if we just go below them, there's one of the gosling goose parents, and the other is just above it with the four goslings. If you go to the left, Tibbs, you can see the four goslings there with their other parents. Now, we did start off, of course, with 8, and I saw a little pair of geese yesterday on a dam on Buffelshoek, and they had managed to raise 7 of their clutch, and they were definitely keeping a lot closer to their goslings than these two seem to. So perhaps young and inexperienced parents, or perhaps just negligent, but either way they've only got 4 left, and often when we come here they're kind of frolicking about on their own, those little ones. And so I don't think that these two geese are necessarily the best parents at Djuma. Now, Tibbs, if you just go down a little bit from there, there we go, there's a little bird wading along the shore. If you go, there, it's him, well done, great. Now that indistinct bird will only be interesting, I suspect, to the ornithologists amongst you, or the twitchers, and that is a wood sandpiper, correctly identified by our various ornithological genius viewers, after I incorrectly identified it as a green sandpiper, which is a dreadful faux pas on my part 3 days ago. But the wood sandpiper is still here, and then the other bird that we've got to show you up in the top of that tree over there is a grey heron. Not a particularly rare bird, but certainly nice to see them. There are two of them there. Those two black blobs there are the woolly-necked storks, but they're sitting with 2 grey herons. And those herons started off their morning when we arrived by singing to each other. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard a heron singing, but a heron singing sounds a little bit like a vehicle engine grinding to a halt as it seizes because of a lack of oil. That is what the song of a heron sounds like. It is deeply, deeply unattractive, and how they have been gathered together in the order of birds called the passerines or songbirds is a great travesty of justice to any bird like a robin, which should be grouped with a bird with such a foul voice. But they are still very interesting ones to watch here. Then, just above us, there's a whole lot more going on, and unfortunately they seem to have absconded for the moment, but we can see their nests. The red-billed buffalo weavers are building frantically here. They've been bringing sticks in and out, recreating their huge nests, and these nests are remarkable, the speed at which they get developed and built. And let's go back now. Oh, this is marvelous news. Alright, so Scott is back with the hyena den, and I think you can head across there and have a look and enjoy what's happening there. So nice that we found that again, and we'll keep you posted and see you just now.
So we've been waiting at the den for a couple of minutes. The one individual sleeping over there was here when we arrived, and another one has just returned. The one whose tail you can see wagging, moving around there. I'm just going to give it a moment or two, but let me actually reposition now. I think we're not in the best spot here. So just want to move us around onto the other side of the den, although let me just give it a moment or two, because we haven't been at this den for many weeks now. I'm not too sure which burrows are most active and whether there are any new additions to the clan. We could get surprised. There could be a tiny new black cub. There's 3 different females that have all been giving birth at different periods, which is interesting because often in hyena society it's just the alpha female that will give birth. But here there's clearly 3 different litters, well there was at least last time we were here. The youngest of which was probably approaching 4 to 5 months of age when they moved the den site elsewhere, and that's why we lost track of where they were. I think it's safe for us to now reposition. Thought for a moment she may be coming across onto this side of the den. Shouldn't take us too long to get into another spot. It is very thick here though. There's a little pathway here where we can wiggle our way through. Perfect. And this could be the youngest cub. I think it is, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure what you guys think. What will be able to help us work that out is earlier on in the leopard sighting, there was one hyena with a very distinct scar on her back, and I mentioned that I thought that that was the mother of the smallest cub in the clan. And I think this could be her. Maybe I'm wrong though. I can't see her back very clearly. But what we can see is that that cub is getting a serious bath this morning. Jeez. And again, just like the tongue of the leopard, Karula, who was licking the meat off the bone earlier, this hyena has also got a very rough tongue that will help keep her as well as her cub clean. Well, Jeffrey in Texas, I'm equally as happy as you that we have relocated this den site, and well done to James for finding it earlier this morning, confirming that they were actually here. We had speculations that they could be here. Now Jeffrey's brought up a great point and mentioned, could we not have used our drone to help find the hyena den? And I guess we could have, Jeffrey, but it does have to fly very low in order to be able to see clearly what's going on. It doesn't have the ability to zoom the camera on that drone. So I don't think it's probably the perfect tool. It could work, but because of it having to fly very low, it could chase off other animals, and it's something that we are trying our best not to interfere with nature and what's going on. So we wouldn't take the risk of just flying it around low level in a kind of grid pattern to try and find a den, especially because the likelihood of being able to see small animals like hyena and Vim, look at this, it's a tiny new cub. There's a new addition. Can you believe it? cute! This is the first time anyone has ever seen this cub. So every single one of us are breaking history here. And I know it was just a glimpse, but that's good enough. Oh, here it comes again, Liam. It's minute. It could be in and around a week of age, between a week and 2 weeks. I wouldn't say too much more than that. They are born blind and helpless. But I mean, that is miniature, and it's come to drink from mommy. And the great news is it doesn't seem too concerned about us, which is a surprise because there's no ways that any other vehicle would have been here. Nobody else has seen that hyena. Now I think another hyena has arrived. There's a lot of audio that I'm hearing now. The little cub has just popped back out, but what I'm thinking of doing is repositioning the vehicle slightly. This will give a much better angle from where we are here. Okay, so there's one hyena, the mother of the tiny cub. She's waiting at the entrance to the burrow there, and then there's another 3 hyena down to our left, 2 of which are big old females, and then another cub. Here comes the cub, here comes the cub. And it's squealing. This is awesome. We very seldom get to see this. Very interesting that she was sampling the nipples there. And interestingly enough, the same female hyena that arrived earlier on, the one with a bit of a scar on her back, did exactly the same thing. So obviously the taste of milk is still one that excites even adult hyena, because both of them came in and sampled the nipples of this young and immaculate female. It's remarkable to see what great condition she is in compared to the other 2 ladies around us here, who are much older and more war-torn and scarred than she is. I'm guessing it's not going to be too long before this little cub comes out again. It was just the initial excitement and greeting of that adult that... Oh, hear it squeal. I can hear it squealing again. It's desperate to come and have some more breakfast with its mother. Here it comes. Oh, I think it just tumbled back down the burrow. Keep watching closely, it's going to come out again. Now, while we wait here, I just would like to let you know that I can confirm that the hyena we saw earlier at the leopard kill was in fact the hyena with the scar on her back, which was... Oh, no ways. Still not quite comfortable with being out for long periods of time. The mother doesn't seem too concerned though. An emerald spotted wood dove is calling in the tree directly above these hyena. So you'll be getting great audio of that. I can't see the bird, but it must be very close by. Well, there's all kinds of stuff happening on safari this morning. Brent has now found another very interesting and venomous critter that he would like to show you. We'll be sure to race you back to see this little cub if it does pop out though.
Down and detritus of the wood, and we found a little scorpion. I'm just gonna, oh, did he escape? No. By checking under the logs. Just move it a little bit further that way so you can get a nice view of him. So okay, so a little bark scorpion. They do get quite a bit bigger than this, and they are just incredibly beautiful little animals. They are very, very non-aggressive, these guys. So it's very seldom they will sting. And if you look at how big his pincers are in relation to his tail, then that tells you he hunts more by using his pincers than his venom. And so even if he was to sting you, this one probably wouldn't hurt very much at all. Possibly like a bee sting, or maybe even less than a bee sting, a little bark scorpion of this size. But incredible little creatures. And it's wonderful if you check under that bark quite often, and incredibly we're able to show you and we're going to leave him here. I'm going to put him back under the little piece of branch I found, and you can see this is a dead bush willow here. So let's just pop him back. He doesn't like to be out in the open. It makes him a threat, or it's dangerous for him with birds and other things around. So, but really great that we're able to find all these tiny little things and show them to you. So we're going to leave him here. We're going to carry on, see what else we can find. And while we do that, I know really exciting news, a new hyena den. But before we go back to that, James has also got something that's terrestrially based and something we only see during the wet season.
Look at this, everybody. I know that we've shown you the shells, but this giant land snail is just coming out to say hello. Look at that. Look. These are long-lived snails, apparently about 10 to 15 years, some of them. And there he comes. Just exactly on cue. Ooh, no, unfortunately he saw me. Let's just sit for a little bit. We will take you back to the hyena cubs now, because I know a snail is not necessarily quite as exciting as a hyena cub. But just look at this, look at this. I'm going to sit very still. Look. That's his eye. There comes his other eye. And he's turning his mouth. He turned his mouth towards me. Obviously didn't like the cut of my jib, as it were. Let's see if he does one more. I don't know. We have been sat here with him for some time, trying to coax him out of his shell. That's it. Here he comes again. Little eye sticking out. Here we go. Now, I don't know if you're able to see there, but no, you won't be able to. But there's a little black dot on the end of that stalk on his eye. And he's turned his mouth towards me. Oh. They're all sorts of sensory organs pointing straight towards me. Mouth, what I think passes for some kind of a nose. Look at that. It's like he wants desperately to come out. Now, of course, in the snail world, nothing happens with any kind of speed. The tortoise, 2 tortoise species that we get here make this snail really seem truly pedestrian. Here he comes. This is lovely. Isn't that amazing? Let's see if he'll actually move for us. There he goes. And so you probably can't get an exact impression of his size, but he's about the size of my hand, basically. And you can see just behind him, he's leaving a trail of sand. And that sandy kind of covering is what they will use in the dry season, to sort of cover up and shore up and make sure that they don't desiccate during the long dry months that we have. But now we've had a bit of rain. They've come out of what is an eastivation, and imperceptibly almost, the land snail is now on the charge. Look at him go. He's doing about 4 inches per hour. So an interesting question about these snails here, and meningitis from Dia. Or Dia, is it true that it's dangerous to touch snails because they carry meningitis? Dia, I haven't heard that before. I truly hope it is not true, because I did touch it, and I've touched many in my time. So perhaps in some parts of the world, dear, but I don't believe out here that meningitis is carried by the giant land snail. And indeed, certainly these are edible. I've never eaten one, but I know of people who have. And obviously an entire nation of French people eat snails with great regularity. So maybe there are some species of snails that carry meningitis, but I don't think these ones do. And Dia, of course, the most famous disease-carrying snail is a small snail that occurs in some rivers in Africa, and they carry a disease called bilharzia. Oh, he's doing a 180-degree turn. This is the snail equivalent of a donut, or handbrake turn. You saw how he suddenly saw Tebs there and also disappeared into his shell briefly, but Tebs, being slightly kinder looking than me, obviously didn't make him go all the way back in. High action, everybody. Now, what an appropriate name for this high action sequence that's going on here. Adrenaline rush. That's precisely how I feel at the moment. I'm having a huge adrenaline rush from the speed at which the snail is executing his 180-degree turn. You want to know if it's got 4 eyes. As far as I know, it's only 2 eyes, and those 2 things sticking out the front are other sensory organs. I have to confess that I don't know a huge amount about these snails, and I need to go and do a bit of work reading up on them. A very good question from Kevin. What does the snail add to our ecosystem? Kevin, well, obviously it's a source of food for many things. The shell will be used by various animals to gain calcium. Tortoises will chew on the shells. Porcupines will probably chew on the shells, and probably various other animals. Lots of birds will like to eat these snails. But basically, snails, I think, are generally vegetarian eaters of various bits and pieces in the detritus. I also think, if I'm not mistaken, these snails, if I'm not mistaken, and I might be, and you're welcome to tell me I'm talking nonsense here, I think they eat millipedes, if I'm not mistaken. So they're also quite voracious predators. You can see, moving at this kind of speed, there's not much that could possibly escape the attentions of a giant land snail. Right, I think possibly because we've had so much excitement here with the snail, we should head back to a calmer sighting of a, well, I think definitely less impressive animal in the spotted hyena, crocutta, and we will, Tebs and I, take a deep breath, let our heart rates come down after the excitement of this giant land snail. So over to Scott, and we'll see you just now.
Well, from an adrenaline-pumping sighting with James to a slightly more relaxed one here at the hyena den with the new cub. It is tiny. It's been out just for a couple of minutes now, just started suckling. And isn't it just adorable? I'm sure a lot of you are interested in its coloration. They are born pitch black. And my guess is that it's anywhere between a week and 2 weeks old. I could be well off the right age, but I'm certainly no hyena aging expert, especially with young little cubs. But what I can tell you, like I said earlier, is that it would have been born blind and helpless, which it clearly is not now. It can move itself around, it can see clearly, it's clearly conscious of us and giving us a once-over. It is in all likelihood the first time that it has ever seen humans and or a vehicle. And like most young animals, it's quite inquisitive as to what exactly we are doing here. Oh, what's Mom heard? Now, another thing that's interesting about this sighting is that it could well be the first time that this female hyena has given birth. It is just a speculation, but she does look young and in great condition. So, possibilities there that it's a new queen. And in hyena society, it is the females that are dominant, not the males. So queen is a more important title than that of a king, and even the lowest ranking female is ranked higher than the king of the clan. As we watch this little cub explore in and around the den sites, Derek is interested to know whether this is the same den as Big Cat Week last year. And no, Derek, it certainly isn't. This is one of the newest dens that we've seen them coming to. Oh, look at that. And it's about a mile away from the den that we were viewing the clan at this time last year. Oh, looks like this hyena, just like the other youngster we saw earlier, is also getting a bath. Mom's not very gentle with it, but you got to be tough out here, and only the fittest and strongest survive. And another question regarding the internal structure of the den has just come through from Goobawalla. That's a name I haven't heard before. Good to have you on safari with us. And how many burrows and networks of chambers are there within there? I'm not too sure exactly, and I guess each den will be slightly different, Googawalla. But what I'm fairly certain of is that the little cub has got a few little networks and alleys that it is only big enough to get into, and you'll find the adult hyenas won't be able to probably move in there as easily and as readily as the young cub. Another thing is that it's not uncommon for hyena to abandon dens and share dens with other animals like porcupine. So each den will be a little bit different, And I'm certainly not brave enough to stick my head down there and have a look at what's going on inside this specific one. This is an incredibly cute sighting. Now Brent does have a surprise for you guys on Bushwalk, and I think we'll shoot you across to him now while the cub's out of view, and we'll get you back here as soon as possible after the surprise.
So, while we haven't even moved 30 meters from where we had that scorpion, and now it's time to do a little bit of safari CSI. It's taken us quite a while to work out what's been going on here. If we're going to come have a look over here, you can see there's some diggings on the ground, and there's some very interesting, it almost looks like there's been a big tail over here. We can't see any distinct tracks. We can definitely see big claws that have been gouging out this digging here. And then we come over here. They're not digging too deep into the termite mound. There's another little digging over here. Again, it looks like a tail, but is it? So let's see if you guys can figure out what this is while we take you through the CSI of these tracks as we move through. So remember, if you can figure out what it is, or you'd like to guess, send your questions at WildEarthTV on email, or use that Safari Live on Twitter. So we're going to stand by right. There's still quite a few more different things to look at, and in a playful mood.
So it is all happening on Safari Live this morning, which is great stuff, and I urge any new viewers to let us know you're watching for the first time and send us through some questions and comments. Look at the little cub now. I think it's going to climb on top of its mom's head. Oh, just nibbling on her ear. This is awesome. Incredibly cute little animals, the baby hyena, and they do a great job in actually swaying people's perceptions of these animals, which have been painted in a bad light. And thanks to this bad publicity from various different shows or documentaries or movies, these little cubs are doing a great job in changing people's negative perspectives and outlooks on these animals. There's nothing wrong with hyena. They fit into the African ecosystem incredibly well, and they're integral for everything to run smoothly out here. And sadly, like I said, it's merely bad publicity that's given them, or given people a bad impression on these animals. Mainly that they are scavengers and that they steal from other animals like leopard or lion, which, don't get me wrong, is the truth. But leopard will steal from other leopard, they'll steal from their own kind, as will lion. And every animal out here will essentially negatively treat or bully other animals when they have the opportunity to. It always comes down to power. Oh, tumbled back down its burrow, rightfully so, after attacking its mom. That was awesome. So still learning a little bit about its kind of body and how best to work those paws. It looks like it's slipping. It's like it's on a treadmill. It's running on the spot there. It can't get enough purchase to get up. And I know Kay made a great observation earlier, and that is that this burrow is very steep and not easy for the cub to get out of, and you spot on, Kay. That little sequence we saw there was a great example of that. Literally running on the spot. Its little hyena claws aren't quite big enough to give it the required grip. Now, when this little hyena was less efficient at moving itself in its first few weeks of its life, Lyle in Washington would like to know if the adults would carry them around just like a dog or a cat would, and spot on, that's exactly how they would transport their cubs when need be. There's a crested francolin that's alarm calling, and you wouldn't believe what's happened here is that this is not the only home for hyena, but it's also a home for birds. View them in the tree, dead tree. If you go to the first fork there, yeah, just zoom straight in there, and if we just wait there, we will see a red-billed oxpecker which has just headed into that cavity that you can see in the center of the screen. And if we just wait a few seconds, I'm sure it's going to pop out again. I'm not sure if it was coming back with food that it's going to feed to young chicks, or possibly nesting material. Wonderful stuff though. The hyenas have their den on the ground, their red-billed oxpeckers in the tree directly above. And that's the great thing about spending prolonged periods of time in one given spot. Then if you just pan up to the right a little bit, I can see the oxpecker's head. It may have come out of a different cavity. It was just poking out behind that branch, and what there may be is different entrances and exits to their nest. It's an old knobthorn tree, it looks like, and there could be multiple chambers or cavities which lead to the main nest cavity. Oh, there it is, Vem, it's just popped up there. There we go. So great to know, and we'll have to, oh, and another one's just popped out below it. So a happy couple. They do form monogamous pairs. And let's see if it doesn't go into this cavity now. I think they could be either looking for a nest. Oh, there they both go. So that's where I saw it disappear initially. The shrill call there of the oxpecker. Bright yellow eyes and that big red beak, designed for plucking off ticks from a lot of the different herbivores. Oh, there's another adult. It's difficult to tell who's male and who's female here. They both look the same. Crested francolin still calling in the background. Great, well that's where the nest is. Be sure to let the other presenters know when they're spending time here at this den site. And now back to the cub. Here is definitely going to be the new and upcoming star of safari life for the coming weeks. It's going to have some competition though, with lots of baby impala around in the future. Brent saw the first baby impala yesterday afternoon. I've yet to see one, and who knows, maybe we'll get to see not only this baby hyena but also a baby impala later on. Hello to Adrenaline Rush, and you've asked a good question, wondering whether eagles will ever try and catch little animals like this, small hyena cubs, small leopard cubs. And yes, definitely, if this little hyena was to venture out of the den without any adults here and an eagle was to see it, most certainly it is well within the size range of a lot of the eagles in this area. And it's important to know that you even get eagles big enough to take down small antelope. The martial eagle predates a lot on bigger prey than this. Also, kind of baby impalas are well in the bracket of being catchable for those large eagles. So it certainly could happen and does happen from time to time. Another thing that eats young cubs, especially ones that live in burrows, are pythons, the African rock python. So that's another thing that could happen. We're going to rush you back to Brent on the bushwalk now. Enjoy.
So we're at the next set of diggings, and you can see that something's really got those really sharp claws and dug. We've had quite a few guesses to what that this possibly might be. Some people are saying aardvark and anteater, but it's not. Now there's another little clue. little clue, and we've seen before that new so that is another little clue down there, and that has come out. So whatever's been digging these holes has been after scorpions, and we can see just the remnants of a sting left here. This part wasn't eaten, and you can actually see this dangling bit. If I squeeze it, white. So that's where the venoms come from. Fortunately, I don't have any open wounds on my hand, so it's okay. And so this animal has been feeding off scorpions, and there's literally diggings all around us with little bits of scorpions left. And very well done to Carol, who got it correct. This is a honey badger digging, and honey badger has been actively hunting scorpions, and very successfully. We found about 6 different diggings where they've successfully pulled scorpions out. This one just forgot a little bit of the scorpion. There we go. So well done, guys. We're going to keep moving on. We actually haven't got very far today. There's been so much to see in the short pace. The ground is littered with news of what happened over the evening. So while we continue to move on, we're going to go see what we're going to try stay with us for a little bit. And as you can see, here we go. There's the next set of diggings. And I did see a pincer here. There we go. So while this honey badger has been running through here, he's been gobbling up so fast, he's been leaving bits behind. And these all look really, really similar species that they're digging out here. And I know just behind us, we're going to try to get to the next set of diggings. There's apparently, there's 4 or 5 diggings where each has left pieces of scorpion everywhere. But isn't this incredible? If you look closely, you see a lot more stuff, and that's the wonderful thing about the walking safari, is you are really, really connected to the earth. Here we go. Here's the next set of diggings. And I mean, if we come have a look here quickly at this hole, you can see how deep these scorpion holes really are. And the honey badger's got those really, really hard claws. I mean, if I take my stick here, the honey out, surface of the ground would be. So I mean, that's probably a foot. We're looking for little bits of scorpion that have been left. Oh, look at this. He forgot most of the scorpion. No, he ate the whole abdomen, but he didn't eat the head or the pincers. So with all the pieces left behind here, you could probably make up a whole scorpion exoskeleton. Very, very cool. This is a really big scorpion for this particular species. So a really great meal for the honey badger. Okay, I'm not going to take this with. We're going to leave this here because other insects and animals will still feed on it. Oh, imagine that. So last night on the sunset safari, we saw an emergence of allets or termites. So the drones and queens of the termites, and this is what happens to them after they fly off. They lose their wing, and they then try to find another mate, and they'll run around on the ground. This is where they're very vulnerable to being eaten by scorpions. Scorpions are really big fans of eating these guys, as well as leopards, hyenas, will all eat flying ants. Such a rich protein source, and in a lot of parts of Africa people eat them as well. So from a tiny little flying ant to the biggest animal in the bush.